When we got started, an acquaintance of mine who's an affordable housing professional said the worst thing you can do is get together a group of earnest amateurs.
There are different challenges to addressing affordable housing in our suburban communities, and the Affordable Housing Network has helped to bring together the leaders that are trying to address those challenges so that they can learn from each other, support each other, and develop some best practices.
Affordable housing is a regional problem. It manifests itself differently in the suburbs and in suburban areas versus the urban areas. And the reason we have formed the network is so that the suburban areas can identify the issues that are unique to them.
We were always a little bit surprised to find that in, Darien and New Canaan and Wilton, there are people like us working a little bit in the dark, trying to get things done. And when we've had a chance to get together with them at regional seminars and forums, we've always stood around talking and drinking coffee and picking at the fruit salad after the meeting to share ideas. And we thought, wouldn't this be a great idea if there were some formal way to get this together?
We started to say, let's get together. Let's get these groups together. They can learn from each other. And that was the birth of the Fairfield County Affordable Housing Network, which is a rather grand name for essentially all those different towns coming together regularly to share what they're doing.
Ridgefield is a pretty forward town for a town its size when it comes to municipal affordable housing. We already had about 130 units or so. What we did was put together a plan to create an additional 20 units of family housing on property that the town owns. The town gave us the land. We actually used 8-30G.
It's the state statute that gives a court recourse, a legal recourse, for developers who are working in towns who feel that their particular project has been turned down because of because they included affordable housing and local planning and zoning didn't support it.
We used it to overcome some very minor procedural hurdles.
New Canaan is kind of a interesting, in some ways, and unique community in that we are 97% developed. We took the former high school, or maybe even it's a junior high school, I can't remember which, and converted it into senior-specific or disabled-specific housing. We have had for a number of years other housing authority units called the Mill Apartments on Millport Avenue, and we had 16 single-story buildings. Instead of rehabbing them because they were really in very marginal condition, we leveled them, and we now have 40 townhouses. Phase 2 of that is that we will take those 18 units plus 2 condos that are bordering those housing units, and we will be able to develop 72 units.
I guess I joined about a year ago. I have very little housing background, so it's been an interesting experience for me because I'm learning a lot. Wilton Commons is a public-private partnership, so the town has contributed to it, but there are no actual affordable housing policies. There's no affordable housing commission or board in Wilton. And the exciting thing that Wilton Commons is doing is we're about to start phase 2, which we have a state grant, and we're going to be doing an assisted living component. So actually, I shouldn't say assisted living, congregate care component.
The network is something that I looked at with, quite honestly, envy when it was started. That's because several years ago, when I headed the Affordable Housing Commission in Darien under Yvonne Klein, when she was first select woman, we started out with a committee of 10 people, and one of the things that we really wanted to know was what other communities were doing, what worked, what didn't work, what were best practices, all of those details, and we did the footwork. I'm very happy to say that our housing authority has almost completed Allen O'Neill, and unless the weather is a deterrent again, all the units will be finished in the spring.
Our percentage of affordable housing in Fairfield is about 2.5, 2.7, and so we're not at a point where we can get a moratorium for the 830G. We're not at the 10%, which I think is really an unrealistic goal. It's when you're a built-out community, you really can't get the 10%, but you can take steps every year, and Fairfield has done that. So we're in the midst of updating our affordable housing plan that will take a snapshot of the town, the challenges, what we've already accomplished, and we'll look to set a goal for future accomplishments.
I was a chair and co-chair of a housing task force where we studied the issue, where they looked at the 5,500 employees of the town of Greenwich, some of the public school employees, Greenwich Hospital employees, and several of the biggest nonprofits, and looked at where they lived and where they worked, and also discovered that in many ways Greenwich is spending an awful lot more for their employees because they have to pay them a higher salary because of the commuting distances, and they're spending time training these people, and particularly for the teachers, they don't stay very long because they can't afford to raise their families in Greenwich, so they then leave. We've been working with planning and zoning to have them develop some incentives to encourage affordable housing.
You know, maybe what we really ought to be saying is, look, take a look at Marshall Commons. Take a look at the townhouses. I can't believe that anybody in there wouldn't want to live next door to a project that looks like that. You know, people who are really aspiring to the American dream one way or another.
I view it as a learning experience, really. Each time I go, there's information that I gain that I didn't know before.
The other thing that's neat about this collaborative, I think, is that it is evidence of regional decision making, because so often in Connecticut people get focused on, this is my town, this is what I want, and they don't kind of reach out across borders because, you know, we live in regions. We may live in a neighborhood or we may live in a town, but in effect there are sort of regional aspects of our lives that are really important for decision-making process.
We as individual communities need to work together, and the legislators need to find a way to encourage us to work together. And so they should find ways to help us say yes, not put up roadblocks that make it easy to say no.
And I would say what we've proven is the only way that you can get something done with affordable housing in a small town is with a group of earnest amateurs. You need that passion and intensity.